And I'm going to go to, let's see, meeting is now streaming live on custom live streaming service. Okay, it didn't really give me a chance to write in what the class is about. But anyway, it's on Facebook. Maybe I should go to Facebook and I should write it down there. Let's see. I don't see it on Facebook for some reason.
Huh.
Let me refresh the page.
Let me look. I'll look on your page and see if I see anything.
All right, thank you. Working out the glitches here.
Of course.
Okay.
I don't see it yet, unfortunately.
I wonder why. We need Shikarani here. I told her that people are trying to join this and they can't get in. So,
well, the closest thing you could do is find if you have a YouTube link, share that on Facebook manually.
That's intelligent. That's intelligent. That's why I got you around, because someone's got to have some intelligence here.
I prefer to think of myself as resourceful, but only
that's a good way to think. All right, I'm looking up on my page. I don't see it on YouTube either. So anyway, I'm not going to spend more time on trying to figure out how to get this working properly. At least we're able to communicate here. Okay. And so got the next prayer of the six Goswamis up. And just have to share that. Share screen. Do you know how to chant these six Goswami prayers? Are you familiar or not?
I am familiar.
Uh-huh.
It's just I haven't done it like frequently.
Would you like me to chant it? Would you like me to chant it then, or did you want to chant it?
I would prefer you to chant, Prabhu, only because like this is live on YouTube.
Nana Shastra Vicharanai Kanibano Sadharma Samstapako Nana Shastra Vicharanai Kanibano Sadharma Samstapako Loke namita karno tribhuvane manyo sharanya karo Loke namita karno tribhuvane manyo sharanya karo Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajanan Andena Mataliko Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajanan Andena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyuko Sri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyuko Sri Jiva Gopalako. Would you like to read the translation, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Dasa Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna.
Jai, Jalangi Devi has come back once again. Jalangi Dasi.
Jai. From Germany?
Yes, all the way from the Deutschland.
Wow.
From the father. She's come from the fatherland. Wow, and Rasangi is back too. Hare Krishna, Jalangi and Rasangi. Businesses to do both. Are you driving around in your Vimana, Rasangi? Are you in your Vimana, Rasangi?
Hello?
I was just asking if you were in your Vimana, Rasangi.
I'm in my car,
Yes.
but I will listen.
Obeisances to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be here. Happy to hear a reading.
Yeah, well, we just sang, because I'll sing a different verse of the six Goswamis each night, just to be in the mood of
Kartik.
Srila Rupa Goswami and his associates. And Rasangi, I was just wondering, in offering our obeisances to the six Goswamis, Srila Prabhupada quotes that they're very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. So do you have any thoughts on that point, how they're expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings? What comes to mind for you?
I don't know. I just think that they're doing what they can do to uphold the dignity and respect of our line.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's wonderful. I think and from time to time, we know that that's essential because we have been maligned, misunderstood, and demeaned. So for scholars like that, great devotees, to do that and uphold the principles will go down in history. The history will be more accurate. Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking how Srila Prabhupada was so kind to revive the teachings of the six Goswamis, and indeed he is the first person to introduce them to the Western world.
Amazing.
And he's gave us the nectar of devotion, now this nectar of instruction.
Yeah, for sure. We owe a debt that's not able to be paid back. That's right. For sure.
Prabhupada said in that connection that there's really no chance that the disciple can actually ever repay what the spiritual master has done for the disciple. But Prabhupada said, if you want to try, you can preach vigorously, just as I am doing.
Wow.
Jai, Nandapatni, God's sister Ki Jai.
Welcome.
Welcome.
And to cooperate when he's gone, remember? That would show how much we love him if we could cooperate when he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
That's a huge, I was thinking that could become a whole seminar in itself. What does it actually mean to cooperate as disciples? That's huge. Big topic. There's a bumper sticker I saw in America when I used to live there, and it said, I'm a very cooperative person. As long as you see things my way, we'll get along just fine.
That's really funny. Very cute.
And then it describes that the six Goswamis are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis.
Mood of the gopis.
And they're engaged in the loving service of Radha and Krishna.
Did you happen to listen?
Go ahead.
Did you happen to listen to that podcast I sent you of Amarendra and Madhavananda. Did you? I sent
Yes,
it
I did.
yesterday.
I can't remember whether I heard the whole thing or 3/4 of it, but yeah, it was wonderful katha going on.
Astounding.
Yeah, I wrote to Madhavananda.
There's one pastime.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't
Sorry.
know him, but I like him a lot. I like him a lot. There's one pastime that Amarendra told, if you might just let me tell it really quickly.
Sure, please.
That, when Krishna explaining to someone that when he shows his universal form, usually people, whoever they are, become like speechless and begin to offer prayers and sing hymns. He said, but when he showed Mother Jasoda's universal form, she coated him in cow dung and urine because she was afraid, not for himself, but not for her, but for him.
Mm-hmm.
And she thought she was going crazy and that she was so afraid for his safety. He said, I'm not going to show my universal form in Vrindavan ever again. Amarendra told that story last night. I'm not sure where it's from, but it's adorable, isn't it?
Because Krishna was saying this because he didn't want to create a fear and anxiety for his mother?
No, because it covered him in cow dung and cow urine.
Oh, because he didn't want that.
It was dripping all over him.
Okay.
Isn't that adorable? And I trust Amarendra. He's very shastrically paka. He's a very paka.
It would be nice to. I agree. It still would be nice to know where it came from.
He might have said it. Listen to the podcast because he might have quoted where he got that from.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, I'm going to turn off my video and just listen.
Thank you for the homework assignment, Rasangi.
Because I'm driving.
I understand. Jalangi, are you able to read with us tonight? All I see is your black box.
Hare Krishna, my most humble
Hare Krishna, Jalangi, obeisances to you. Welcome. All the way from the fatherland.
Yes, it's middle of the night.
Oh, I see. So does that mean that you'll get too much glare from
because of the neighbors? I should not talk too loud.
Okay. Anyway, you do whatever you can. Will you be able to, I can hear you right now. Will you be able to read or you can only listen?
I can read.
Okay, great. All right. So we'll get to the reading right now then. So we're on the second paragraph of the first verse. Real atonement involves coming to real knowledge. And for this, there is the standard process. When one follows a regulated hygienic process, he does not fall sick. Being is meant to be trained according to certain principles to revive his original knowledge. Such a methodical life is described as tapasya. One can be gradually elevated to the standard of real knowledge or Krishna consciousness by practicing austerity and celibacy, brahmacharya, by controlling the mind, by controlling the senses, by giving up one's possessions in charity, by being avowedly truthful, by keeping clean, and by practicing yoga asanas. However, if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a pure devotee, he can easily surpass all the practices for controlling the mind by the mystic yoga process, simply by following the regulated principles of Krishna consciousness, refraining from illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, and by engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. This easy process is being recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami. Does anyone have any comments or questions on this paragraph?
What did he say about was it asanas or pranayama? What did he say before?
He said that one can gradually be elevated to the standard of real knowledge or Krishna consciousness. And after listing a bunch of other things, he said By practicing yoga asanas.
Oh, interesting. I like that. I mean, the yoga asanas get a bad rap, but like they help develop inner qualities, like strength and the tree pose, and they help to create the warrior pose. You know what I mean? And like in Sundar Gopal's book, Dark Night of the Soul, he talks about them. I mean, they're just a process for gaining some stability, maybe better health, maybe flexibility of the body. I mean, we can't poo-poo that. Prabhupada, the story is they were walking in LA at the beach, and there were some people doing headstands or yoga postures. And Prabhupada said, "Is that our man?" And they said, "Oh, no, Prabhupada." He said, "Well, why not?" They would say, "Oh, no, never, Prabhupada." Well, why not? It's not a terrible thing. We all need to keep our bodies.
That is very good for the health. He said it's very good for the health.
Very good. So we don't want to put them down. It's not the end all and be all, but it's a health-giving activity, let's say.
It's certainly a lot better to do some asanas than to overeat paneer.
Yeah. Or even maybe running or jogging. I don't know. Those are okay too. But the balance and the control over your mind that comes when you do yoga is also very helpful.
Right. I've never been sure about running because it's said that we'll leave our bodies. We only have so many breaths, and we'll leave our bodies sooner if we speed
and
up
it's hard on the joints.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's hard on the knees.
You have something to say, Nandapatni?
Well, I mean, I always rather admired godbrother Charu Das in Utah because he was one of the first devotees I ever knew to really embrace his physical health. And when he finally moved out there and Jai Jagadish and I left the radio station, Vaibhavi and Charu came there, and he became a marathon runner. And I think he ran about 30 miles a day, 30 miles a day for years, yeah.
Oh.
And I kind of felt that, it gave him the kind of drive also in his project.
Kind of tejas, some sort of, I love that. And I also heard that Vaisheshika does yoga daily. I heard that. I don't know if that's true.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I mean, we're not doing 18 rounds of golf or anything. We're just, doing kind
stretching
of
a bit.
Sensible things.
Yes, sensible.
Even the karmis say, if you don't move, you won't move.
Well, I think actually I was listening to something, an interview, one listens to so many of them, but it was talking about a particular Vaishnava who was a bit of a tennis pro. Do you know who that is, Gora?
Oh, Peter Burwash.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Welcome, Shri Sindhu. Welcome from Malaysia.
Hare Krishna, good morning.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Welcome. Welcome. We're talking about exercise for devotees, like being healthy, keeping our bodies healthy as well as our minds. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all.
I walk 12 miles a day for my job.
Oh,
That's
great.
Got
it. You're in such good shape.
Yes.
Yay.
There was a reason why I applied for that job.
Yeah. That's
There's
great.
a rather marvelous description in Mulla Prakriti's book where she went and interviewed all these people who knew Prabhupada before he came to the West. And there's such a enchanting little excerpt where there was someone in Vrindavan. They always knew when Prabhupada was coming because he rode this incredibly rickety old bike.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that made a kind of cronky noise. And
Here
they're
comes
like, "Oh,
Prabhupada.
here
Here comes Abhay Charan."
Bhaktisiddhanta."
Wow.
Yeah, just made me cry, you know.
Oh, I
Nothing
never
could,
heard that.
nothing could stop Prabhupada.
No,
Not even an old rickety bike.
no. Mhm.
Hey,
Yeah.
so Shraddha Sindhu, the context of the exercise was that it's one of the pious activities that one can perform to gradually become elevated to Krishna consciousness. But the main point that Prabhupada is making is that if one is fortunate to get the association of a pure devotee, then he immediately achieves perfection without having to perform so many activities such as yoga asanas and giving charity, keeping clean. Of course, a devotee is naturally going to keep clean, they're going to control their senses. They'll be straightforward in their dealings. All that will.
Yeah.
What is that verse? Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati kinchanai savar gunais haraste mahad guna. That all the qualities of the demigods automatically manifest themselves in the personality of a devotee practicing Krishna consciousness.
Mhm.
So, okay, Krishna Chandra, would you like to read the next paragraph?
Yes, Prabhu,
Excuse me.
thank you.
Excuse me, may I add something?
Oh, yes, please.
I'm sorry, I have little bit courage to
Go
add
ahead.
because in this paragraph we could read that just one short association with pure devotee can change the heart forever.
Mm-hmm.
Give knowledge. We know this beautiful verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi, Lava Matra, Sadhu Sangha, yeah,
Sarvasudhi.
Sarva
Sarva
Siddhi Hoy.
Siddhi Koi. Yes. So I personally just short association with devotees did so much in my personal life, and I know that in your life, meeting Srila Prabhupada change you forever. I am sure 100% that you would tell so beautiful stories. But I remember right now what surely you have heard. Radhanath Swami, he was telling apropos Peter Burwash, that Peter Burwash, he met Prabhupada just for a few hours, had very long darshan, and after this darshan, he changed so much. And when he was later, he was giving so many seminars about God conscious business. But I heard that when he was playing his one of his last, or maybe last pokal, I don't know how you say it in English.
One of his last tennis matches, one of his last
Yes,
games.
yes, that I mean, yes. And it was the last ball he had to accept. And that moment he saw small ants below his feet, and he had choice to make the step, take the ball, and win the pokal. But he remembered at this moment what Prabhupada told him, that you should respect every living being and the life of every living being. So he resisted because he knew when he will do the step to pick up the ball, he will kill these ants. and he told Radhanath Swami,
Wow.
at least I know the story like this, that he decided to respect the life, and he lost
Wow.
Pokal,
Wow.
He
but
lost the game to
Wow.
save it.
game, yes. But he said that that was the most valuable or beautiful moment of his life.
Wow. Very
His
nice.
personal conscious choice.
What a story. I never heard that before. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for sharing everything what you are sharing. Love you.
This is beautiful.
So this one moment of association,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to hear more of your experiences with
Oh.
Prabhupada.
Can I tell a quick story for you,
Sure.
Mataji? I think some of you have heard this already, but like in the 1960s, my mother had darshan of Srila Prabhupada, and it was very brief. She didn't go up to him up close. They didn't exchange words or anything, but and she didn't become a devotee. But of course, years later, when I was maybe 20 years old, I came into contact with the devotees, and I met my guru, my spiritual master, and I was I feel like it was very what's the word, causeless mercy. So I like to attribute at a good part of that to the fact that my mother had met Srila Prabhupada. I feel as if in some spiritual way, I must have inherited some causeless mercy to have met pure devotee in my life.
Were you born yet when your mother met Srila Prabhupada?
No.
Okay, so she met Srila Prabhupada and she gave birth to a devotee.
Mm.
Took me about 20 years to try, but yes.
Mm.
Thank you.
She got affected by Srila Prabhupada. She gave birth to a devotee.
I would say so. She's always appreciated Srila Prabhupada.
Mm.
Pious mother.
Mhm.
That's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Prabhupada said like that one time. He said that mothers must be very pious to give birth to sons and daughters that are devotees. Uh-huh.
Mm.
Well, just on
I've
that note, I was listening to a devotee last night who was relaying a discussion that happened in Mayapur. I forget who was asking Srila Prabhupada, but it was in a very kind of confidential setting. And he asked Prabhupada, amazingly, who are you in the spiritual world? And Prabhupada said, if I told you, you would faint.
Whoa.
Mhm. So, yeah.
Oh my God. And I've also heard about recently, it was Shamarani who told me this story that this young man came to the temple and he told the story that his mother had received a book like 40 years ago, put it on a shelf. He became a teenager and became confused and wanted to know more about who he was. She pulled this old book out, gave it to him, and he ended up living in the temple, moving in, joining. Like that happens all the time. Like the time bomb books. They, you never know who they're meant for, right?
Mhm.
You don't know who they're meant for.
Right.
Tick, 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 and then they go off.
Tick, 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 Gora. Are you there, tick, tick, Gora?
I am always.
Mhm.
I want to go and do a project and put more little books in those little library
Mm.
Little
things in
boxes.
front of the people's homes.
Uh-huh.
I want to put them everywhere. I'm going to get some books and I'm just going to drive around, maybe with an accomplice. And we can jump out every time we see one of those little library boxes and fill them up and then come back and see if they're taken.
Make sure you have a card either with your name and number on, like some way people can contact you or
somebody.
some contact information.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was, you know what book I like for that? Chant and Be Happy.
Uh-huh.
That's a good one. What other ones would you recommend if I order some books? Are nice introductory books.
Well, Perfection of Yoga and Beyond Birth and Death made a lot of devotees.
Okay, I'll get those 3. And
Sure.
there's a devotee, I understand there's a devotee who gives people free cases of books to distribute.
Oh, wow. Well, count me in. Actually, I want to say the Science of Self-Realization.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the best book of devotee makers.
Okay. Maybe I'll write them down later. Perfection of Yoga, Science of Self-Realization, Chant and Be Happy. And what was the other one? Perfection of
Beyond Birth and
Yoga.
Death.
What?
Beyond Birth and Death.
Beyond Birth and Death. And I'll let you know, it was Sunanda told me about this devotee who is very generous that way. He doesn't distribute books himself, but he wants to facilitate others. So if I get them, I'll let you all know. We can all get some books and
Nice.
distribute them.
Yes. That's what we're here for. Jai
Yeah.
Rasangi, my Sankirtan leader, Rasangi Devi Dasi.
Yay. We can tell our numbers. We can share our numbers once a week at this group.
You were a distributor in Los Angeles back in the day?
I was.
Did
I
you
used to
out
go out with Shamarani and Bhakta Priya. We go to the international terminal and
Wow.
okay, it was interesting. I went on traveling Sankirtan in a van in the cold. I used to leave recordings of Krishna book being read by me to my son Maitreya, who was just a little boy at the time. He was just little. But I used to go out. His father would be there to take care of him. Yeah, you know, Nanda Patni is the real pioneer in that. She did a lot of that.
Mhm.
I was kind of a spoiled householder, so I got to go whenever I wanted, and I did, you know, I wasn't pushed at all. But Nanda Patni hit the road so much.
She was on the front lines.
Nanda Patni.
Yeah.
Nanda Patni, you were on the road a lot, right?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, Vaishashika made a joke about me because he said, "Oh, I don't really know why you're not in my book. I've never met you before." You know, his book about book distribution. I said, yeah, I spent about 7 years in a van. There was another devotee there. Who, what was it? He was likening it to 7 years in Tibet. I thought it was quite funny. Yeah, 7 years in a van. That's it. They said, "Oh, you should write your autobiography, 7 years in a van."
I love that. That's a great title.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Or, you know, you'll get a lot of people who live in vans buying that book.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nanda Patni, that's heroic. I was just a sometime distributor. I wasn't one of them die-hard book distributors at all.
Yeah, that was a blessing. I wasn't married. I didn't have children. They wanted the women out of the temple. So, you know, that was, if you had a propensity, then that was
Encouraged.
the way it went. Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Okay, Krishna Chandra, you didn't get a chance to read, did you?
Oh, yes, wonderful. 1 second. First, one must control his speaking power. Every one of us has the power of speech. As soon as we get an opportunity, we begin to speak. If we do not speak about Krishna consciousness, we speak about all sorts of nonsense. A toad in a field speaks by croaking, and similarly, everyone who has a tongue wants to speak, even if all he has to say is nonsense. The croaking of a toad, however, simply invites the snake, "Please come here and eat me." Nevertheless, although it is inviting death, the toad goes on croaking. The talking of materialistic men, and impersonalist Mayavadi philosophers may be compared to the croaking of frogs. They are always speaking nonsense and thus inviting death to catch them. Controlling speech, however, does not mean self-imposed silence, the external process of mauna, as Mayavadi philosophers think. Silence may appear helpful for some time, but ultimately it proves a failure. The meaning of controlled speech conveyed by Srila Rupa Goswami advocates the positive process of Krishna Katha, engaging the speaking process in glorifying the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. The tongue can thus glorify the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. The preacher of Krishna Katha is always beyond the clutches of death. This is the significance of controlling the urge to speak.
Jivan Mukta Prabhu, do you have some comment on this section, please?
First of all, Haribol, everybody.
Jai, welcome. This is
Dandavat pranams, Prabhu.
Jai, Prabhu.
I just had to do some quick grocery shopping, so I was a little late.
It's okay.
No, but the urge to speak, that's something that I was contemplating today as well, is that, people have just, it's such a powerful urge, and everyone wants to say something, but what are we really talking about? What are we communicating? We should be communicating something that reminds us of Krishna, but we're generally communicating things that are in the realm of fruitive activities, like work and things that help us in our, acquire objects of sense gratification. And unless people get something like you Prabhus were talking about, like a book, how do they even know what to talk about?
Good point.
Right? I mean, if they, if a poor soul is out there, never come in contact with Krishna, like Mataji was just saying about, that devotee who got that book after so many years, that time bomb. What do they even know what to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where this sense of frustration comes in, because many of us have experienced it, right? Where that everything is absolutely useless, like the politics and everything is just so useless, meaningless, pointless, but you don't know where to go. You don't know what to talk about. You know that what's out there is not satisfying to you, the soul, but you don't know where to go. That's where the devotees are so merciful, because they plant these time bombs, and when they go off, then you've got something to talk about.
Right. Are you able to take your put yourself on camera, Prabhu, or is it?
I am. It's just that I'm in my kitchen right now, and I'm
Oh,
putting
okay.
away groceries, and
That's cool. I understand.
I'm
Yeah,
just doing stuff while I'm talking to you.
Nice to see you. Haribol.
I'm also reminded, can I mention something of
Yes.
the requirement that our speech be sweet speech, to control our tongue, from being harsh. That's another prohibition, another example of the need to control our speech and have it be sweet and pleasing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People can, and even if we're going to be talking about Krishna, I've been hearing a lot of lectures, a lot of podcasts. I think this was from Vikash Swami, saying that we used to think that just to rake them over the coals with Krishna consciousness was good. That was doing them a favor, just to kind of ream them, just like, you know what I mean? But that's not effective. generally that's not really going to change their hearts. So really learning how to speak in a sweet way that touches people's hearts, that we can have a relationship. Oh, I was reading that too, that, you know, speech in the mode of goodness creates intimacy, whereas speech in the mode of passion does not, and certainly speech in the mode of ignorance, which is critical and demeaning, does nothing to establish a good relationship. Just saying.
Mhm.
That brings up a question for me, because I would need to go and look. I don't know if you can look while I'm speaking right now. Krishna Chandra Prabhu, look in Bhagavad Gita, I believe it's chapter 17, about you know, speech in the different modes of nature. Rasangi's point about how speech should be sweet, pleasing. I think those are the key words to look up: sweet, pleasing. Yet
Working
Prabhupada
on it.
says in that purport that these are, I can't remember the exact words, but something to the effect that these are societal considerations. Yet he says one should call a thief and a spade, that we may be compromising in our speech if we're always just trying to make things, you know, like win the popularity contest, so to speak.
Well,
Mutual backpatting society. Jivan Mukti, do you have something to say about that?
yeah, I mean, it's all relative, isn't it? I mean, when you're speaking to a demonic atheist about Krishna, they don't hear it as sweet words. I mean, for them, it's awful. So, you know, it's all relative, because if when someone is searching, and even when someone is searching, some people hear about Krishna and it's not like a sweet sound for them. And also, you know, there's that aspect of it. And the other aspect is that, you know, sometimes even between friends, I mean, Gore and myself as friends, Gore knows sometimes there might be some type of talk which may not sound so sweet, but it's actually,
Palatable.
but it's intended to kind of shake us up, you know, and inspire us and get the cobwebs out. And so, you know, we can't have this kind of impression that sweet is kind of all, kind of.
What's that noise?
And there's a lot of feedback on someone's mic.
Actually, I had my window open. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that we be milk toast, but I'm saying that in our, you know what I mean, in our
It's breaking up.
Voice breaking up.
friendly and kindness assembly and Swami Satchidananda. And I used to study with Satchit to this group in New Dwarka. He came to pay respects and visit the community.
Bad connection.
And Rita and Anamaj was so, what? Bad connection.
Mm.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going through a bad zone. Can't hear me?
Sort of.
A bit patchy.
Okay, you're
Patchy.
talking about Swami Satchidananda and Hridayananda Maharaj.
Yeah, when he came to New Dwarka, he was so rude and impersonal and just, it wasn't a good thing. He didn't do anything to be respectful or, you know, welcome this aged Swami, even though he wasn't a personalist. I mean, Prabhupada was good friends with Dr. Mishra. He was an impersonalist. He was a Shaivite. But Prabhupada remained friends with him until he died and went to tend to him when he was sick.
Right.
I'm just saying, we don't have to.
I agree with you, Mataji, 100%.
We don't have to beat people over the head with our philosophy. That's all I'm saying.
No question about it.
I found the quote I'm looking for. Here it is, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verses 4 and 5, purport.
Yeah.
Satyam, truthfulness, means that facts should be presented as they are for the benefit of others. Facts should not be misrepresented. According to social conventions, it is said that one can speak the truth only when it is palatable to others. But that is not truthfulness. The truth should be spoken in a straightforward way so that others will understand actually what the facts are. If a man is a thief and if people are warned that he's a thief, that is truth. Although sometimes the truth is unpalatable, one should not refrain from speaking it. Truthfulness demands that the facts be presented as they are for the benefit of others. That is the definition of truth. So one observation I've made is sometimes when the truth is spoken, younger devotees especially, they'll equate that with aparad.
What do you mean?
You cannot criticize. You cannot call out someone's misconception, because if that person is an older devotee and if they say something which is not accurate, then you cannot question that. Otherwise, it's aparad.
That's not too difficult to refute. I mean, we're not blind followers, are we?
Exactly. That's the point.
So you have to use discernment.
Prabhupada said to Karandar Prabhu in, I think, 72, we want independently thoughtful men and women.
Yes,
we do not want blind followers.
Please. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to correct you, Rasangi. Not at all. But
Okay. No, it's a good discussion. But I'm also thinking in the 10th chapter of the Gita we read last night that Krishna says, I am Vada. Of types of speech, I am Vada. He's Vada, which means coming together to bring knowledge in a peaceful way. That's Krishna. I didn't make it up, right? That he's not Vitanda, and he's not the other one, which is challenging and a put down speech.
Mm-hmm.
Jalaja, I think it's Jalaja, isn't it?
He's
Jalaja?
not,
Vitanda, Jalaja, and Vada. Yeah.
oh, it's
I think the important.
but it's we read it yesterday.
Jiva Mukta?
Sorry, I think these the important part of all of this is the intent. If the intent is to help, if the intent is compassion, because compassion doesn't necessarily mean all airy fairy, and that's compassion. No, compassion sometimes comes in the form of as strong as a thunderbolt. Like Prabhupada was both. Prabhupada was soft, and also he could be, very powerful and strong, and energy, like as almost, what's the word I'm looking for? Like disruptive as a thunderbolt. He can disrupt your Maya. The whole point is to disrupt you, to wake you up. Now, if you're doing that out of compassion, then that's perfect. So really the point is, what's the intent? Because you can also be gentle and this and that, and the intent is also misplaced. It's also wrong. So the significant factor in all of this is the intent.
That reminds me, sorry, go ahead.
No, the intent of our words, the intent of our communication.
That reminds me of the story of the young man that was in the courtroom. He had committed some crime. I don't know if he killed someone or what it was, but his mother or his aunt, his guardian, was there, and so they asked him, "Do you have any final words?" Because they were going to condemn him to death. And he went over to his mother or aunt, whoever the woman was, and he bit her off her ear. And she asked, "Why are you doing that?" And he said, "Because you could have disciplined me and you could have trained me better, but you didn't. You let me get away with so much." And so, basically he was blaming her I'm being sentenced to death right now because you were too lenient with me.
That's a cop out.
What?
Total cop out. I mean, there's
That's a
no
Prabhupada story. That's a Prabhupada story.
really. It sounds like the person didn't take any personal responsibility for themselves.
In a certain way, it sounds like that. I understand. I agree with
Yeah.
you. But because Prabhupada said it, it was a teaching moment for him, right?
I guess in that regard.
Mukta, you want to say something?
Yeah.
No, I mean, as a father, I mean, I totally relate to that. I mean, you have to discipline, and sometimes it's not appreciated by them at the time. I mean, as I look at my parents and I see those times as a child when when I was disciplined or not necessarily, I never really got spanked, but where you may have been scolded or very sternly instructed, and very, very important, very important. I mean, essential as far as I'm concerned in raising a child. It's also essential even if you look at sports, like coaches, when they're training the players. Very, very strict. I mean, in the army, for that matter, in the army boot camp,
to be a Navy SEAL or one of those special mission officers. Yeah.
Absolutely essential. I mean, it literally, it's a question of life and death, and so there's no question there of being gentle, and no, that is actually totally contrary. It generates a contrary result. So they have to make you hard as nails, and so they're very, very tough on you. So that's an extreme example, but discipline sometimes comes in various forms, and a parent can discipline you with gentle words sometimes not even any words, just like an expression is enough to teach you a very profound lesson. And I'm sure Prabhupada's done that with his disciples, where he didn't even have to say anything. He just had to look at you.
That's true. They all talk about that. Gurudas and Shama Sundar said just a look of disapproval from Prabhupada was like crushing.
That's it, exactly.
Soul
right.
crushing. Just a look. They hated to get that look. They always wanted to please him and make him smile.
Right.
Yeah.
Jalangi, we haven't heard anything from you, or should have seen you. Do either of you have something you'd like to bring up, or any thought, question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all you have said. I'm waiting for this 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I don't know if Prabhu found the...
Oh, it was actually the 10th chapter, verses 4 and 5. That's what I just read.
But 17th chapter is so beautiful verses about...
That's true.
In many modes of nature.
Do you have them?
No, I don't have, but I'm waiting that Prabhu will find. But
Did you find them, Krishna Chandra?
Well, I found in chapter 17, the closest I could find was a verse about austerity of speech.
Right.
And then also threefold austerity for pleasing the Supreme Lord.
Please read about this austerity of speech, please.
Okay. Chapter 17, verse 15. Austerity of speech consists in speaking truthfully and beneficially, and in avoiding speech that offends. One should also recite the Vedas regularly. Shall I read the other one as well?
There's no purport for that?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Let me see. There. Shall I read the purport? Would you like me to?
If it's relevant to what we're talking about, yeah.
At the very least, it's tangentially relevant. Let me see. One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students. But such a teacher should not speak to others who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. When speaking in spiritual circles, one's statements must be upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech.
That's supporting your points, Rasangi.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what else? Like I was here maybe from Vaish. That's really important to read the books, not just distribute them. We have to know what's in them and be excited by it. That makes the best book distributors. Not you just push it on, here, take this. And, if we're really excited about what we're reading, when we share it with others, they'll get that excitement. And that means we have to read them.
Tripurari Swami in the Prabhupada Memories, he said that out of the culture of studying, relishing Prabhupada's books, then the natural reaction from that is that you'll want to distribute them. The sign that you're actually studying and reading Prabhupada's books is you'll want to give them to others.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I'm praying for that.
And I remember when I was in the van with him going from the Chicago temple in early 76, winter of 76. He would, while the other devotees, especially on the way home when we'd be coming back, and Manasuta and others would be sharing their Sankirtan stories. But on the way there and on the way back there, Tripurari Swami always had his nose in Prabhupada's books. He was really very absorbed and very sober. Not someone who'd be cracking jokes very much. I mean, he'd allow it, allow others, but yeah, he was very fixed. Yeah.
There's a very nice devotee in Gainesville. He's actually from England. I remember him years ago from England, but he's called Adi Carter. And one of the things that I think, is very nice in the book distribution, which obviously speaks to the idea of distributing the books in a very palatable way, is that he very often takes photographs with the people that he's just distributed the book to. And these photos are absolutely marvelous. Everyone is completely relaxed. They have very ecstatic expressions about receiving the books. And I think that's a wonderful development. Yeah. I mean, they just look
I love that. Rameshwar does that in New York. There's these wonderful Sankirtan devotees distributing these big packs of books with ribbons on them. And the people all look so happy. And there's pictures like that. I like that. Yeah, it's a different kind of a style. We just thought if they just got it and read one word, their lives would change, which is true as well. But it should come from someone's heart, that you're loving this so much you want to share it because you care.
And do you have experience on your book distribution that if you, especially in the beginning, we had this experience that when we were not reading, then people were always saying, we have no time, for example. Or do you read these books?
Oh, yeah.
As if Krishna was speaking through them.
You're saying that people that you were distributing books to, they would sometimes ask you, do you read these books?
No, personally, we have this experience that when we were not reading, then people were always saying, no, thank you, or we have no time,
Oh.
just rejecting
Mm-hmm.
us really heavily.
Yes, Prabhupada wrote a BTG article about that called No Time, No Time. We're trying to give them Krishna and they're saying no time, no time. But then when the time
That's
of
fine,
death, when the time of death comes, then sorry, you didn't have any time for Krishna, so you won't be meeting him.
So
Okay,
if I can add something in
Yeah.
this
yeah.
paragraph also, this one sentence that the preacher of Krishna Katha is always beyond the clutches of death.
Mm-hmm.
It's so that struck me so much, and it's so inspirational for every one of us,
Mhm.
also for
There's
young
that
devotees.
verse in the second, sorry, yeah. There's a verse in the second canto that describes that for one who's absorbed in hearing and chanting about the glories of the Lord, then the rising and the setting of the sun has no influence upon him beyond the clutches of death.
Yes, the time stops. I heard that when we have Krishna Katha, when two devotees meet together, at least two devotees, then Krishna comes. He dwells 100% in this association.
I'd just like to make a comment on what we've been reading here, controlling the urge to speak. And, you know, how Prabhupada was saying that we're always eager to speak. And it wasn't until I took the Life Skills Transformational Workshop course with Dhira Govinda Prabhu that I realized that not a lot of us, including myself, are really good listeners, that we've got enough sattva guna that we can actually like really connect with what another devotee is trying to say and go even deeper and try to read between the lines, like, why is this person saying this? Like, where are they really coming from? What's the reason that they're sharing this? And it seems like there's no limit to how deep one can go in understanding another human being if we can control the urge to speak, because the tendency is, okay, when's this person going to stop so I can speak? And it's, you know, at least I didn't receive any training in ISKCON that, okay, after you've heard this person speak, then you should reiterate back to them what it is that you think they just finished telling you, just so that they can confirm, yeah, you get me, you're understanding me. So I think there's a lot to be said about that quality hearing, and you know, as opposed to, I think one can speak better if they're a better listener, if they listen really, really well and can understand where another devotee is coming from in terms of their realization or in terms of their obstacles that they're dealing with, then they'll be able to connect with that devotee on a deeper level. That's one point I wanted to make. And I wanted to say that regarding the croaking of the frogs, that it's interesting to note that the frogs are croaking, Prophet says in another place, because that's their mating call. They're calling the snakes of death. They're calling out to their female frog, or and but in the meantime, they're so much absorbed in their sex life that they don't realize that the slithering snake of death is coming to swallow them whole. So yeah, whole world is totally absorbed in that kind of consciousness, and death comes and swallows them up.
Can I just mention too that People don't care what you know till they know that you care.
Until
Right.
they know how much you care, right?
People don't care what you know till they know that you care.
Right.
I love that. I love that. It's not that hard. It's something, it's like, isn't it true for you? If I know somebody really does care about me, it makes the relationship very different.
Not me. I just want to, if I want to know something, I just want to find someone who knows it. Just tell me what I need to know. That's all.
Interesting.
Tell me what I want to know. Gaura, what you were just saying, Prabhu, earlier, just to me, it just rings of all that, like that self-help stuff, which I was talking about the other night. It's like, you know what? If you're not listening well, then practice by listening to the Maha Mantra when you chant. You know, like that's what, that's what I use for myself. Like, we've got everything. We don't need all this like stuff about, oh, let's listen to what they're really trying to say and this and that. And if you listen to the Maha Mantra, if we listen attentively when we're chanting, all of this stuff will automatically be there. It'll automatically be there. You know, we don't have to.
Yes. Okay.
We don't have to worry about, you know, all this esoteric stuff about, you know, listening and, you know, what are they trying to say and or this or that. I mean,
do you feel, Jivan Mukta Prabhu, do you feel that all the spiritual authorities that you've known in ISKCON, that they're genuine?
I don't care about them. You know what? And I'm not going to judge them. My life does not depend upon them. I wish them well. I hope that they all go back to Godhead. Whether have I been, you know, could I look back and say that I was mistreated? Yeah, I mean, you could look at it in so many ways and say they could have done this, they could have done that, but it's not an easy job they've got, you know? It's a really, really tough gig they've got, like I mentioned before. Like, I don't envy it at all. At all. Like, I wouldn't want to be like a GBC ever. It's like you can't win for losing there. Like, there's no, you know, you're never going to satisfy everybody, if anybody at all. So you, me, all of us, we've got our japa beads. There is no GBC between you and your japa beads. Everything rests on chanting the holy name. Everything depends upon how we surrender to Nam Prabhu, to the holy name of the Lord. That's it. It's that simple. Everything else is just an excuse for our mind to not hear and surrender to the holy name. That's all.
Yikes, you sound like one of them.
It's that simple.
You sound like one of those people from the temple, Prabhu. I just must say.
I'm sorry, but that's how I feel. I'm not even I haven't gone to the temple in ages. But all I'm saying is I don't depend upon these devotees. I sympathize with the jobs that they have, you know, the responsibilities they have. I know that I don't agree with most of the things that go on, but I wouldn't want that. And you know, Krishna has kept me away from that for whatever reason. But we have our own responsibility ourselves, to our chanting, to, you know, our regulative principles. Like, we have that responsibility individually.
I'm wondering that, I don't think Gaura meant, I'm not sure what Gaura meant, but what I'm thinking of is like, I mean, I've been hearing this from so many devotees lately about how much Prabhupada wanted Varnashram Dharma, community, sustainable. He wanted this. There's no doubt about it. So in order to do that, you have to deal with all kinds of people. You have to help them where they're at, meet people where they're at.
Right.
You can't force people to be something they're not. So we have to become skilled at meeting people where they're at, accepting them, caring for them, and then helping them go to the next stage.
Mhm.
You can't, like Ramburu, who's a chaplain in the temple, like her husband was severely abusing her for so many years and neglecting her and her children. People just kept telling her to chant Hare Krishna, keep chanting Hare Krishna. But that was not the right answer, Prabhu. She needed help. She
Okay,
needed support.
I agree. I totally agree with you. And that's a different situation. I'm talking about, someone who is living independently, has no affiliation with the temple, and is like, there's no point in looking at ISKCON and saying that, they should give me shelter. No, it's what it is. It's what it is. And devotional service is not dependent upon any material circumstance.
Very true.
And we have so much opportunity to associate. We have all of Prabhupada's books. We have our japa beads. Find someone who, you respect, and, you're on the same wavelength and inspires you, and, associate with them. I mean, how many close devotee associates do you think that we're going to have? Not very many.
I'm just thinking that, that some of the things you said were like just smacked of old ISKCON. And I'm just saying that even ISKCON, Prabhu, is changing. ISKCON is changing. They have people that help other people. They reach out, they listen. They're instituting kind of counseling. They asked me to be a counselor in Alachua. They know the importance of helping minister to people. It's not just cut and dry and wham bang, thank you, ma'am, like that. We have to reach people and connect and help each other on a very personal level. And it's sometimes it has to do with helping you raise your children, maybe helping you with some advice, as we were talking about. How did you deal with your children? What's discipline to you? Or how do you make your marriage work? Or what happened in your life that, these are important things. It's not just about just chanting Hare Krishna. I don't see that as like going to spread Krishna consciousness to the larger population. Not that we can avoid it, we don't want to, but we also have to reach them on other levels. That's just what I'm saying.
Even amongst devotees, I mean, there have been devotees who have been alone and committed suicide. There are people who gave their lives to the mission who now are financially destitute and alone.
Homeless.
I mean, so I don't think it's a one size fits all, even though, of course, we know the ultimate philosophy is in your bead bag. We all know that. But I think there's a lot more to it, actually, and a lot of loving kindness amongst the Vaishnavas can go a very, very long way.
And I'm not saying there shouldn't be kindness and there shouldn't be caring, and I hope I didn't sound that I was denigrating that. That's essential. I mean, that's the those are the qualities of a devotee. But what I was intending to convey was that, I without defending the actions of, leadership, we can't use leadership and their shortcomings and failings as an excuse for ours.
Mhm.
Okay, we can't.
True.
And my life.
I don't think anyone's particularly contesting that.
Okay,
I'm not even talking about anybody's faults. I'm talking about we're trying to learn lessons maybe from what happened before and do things better for Prabhupada and Krishna. That's all. Learn from mistakes, huh?
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
That's all.
And this type of association is a wonderful medium for that, because we can actually, especially many of us now, we're all seniors. So you know, we have so much that we can bring to the table, and many of us have taken such circuitous routes, you know, and you know, we all have different types of experiences in our lives while still trying to maintain our devotional, you know, responsibilities to Srila
Journey.
Prabhupada.
Mhm.
You know, so it's like we do have a lot to bring to the table, and if we think that, for example, you know, whatever expertise any of us may have acquired and you know, through our lives, if we think that somehow someone's going to just automatically recognize that and think that they're going to bring us into the fold and we're going to be able to contribute to ISKCON or to the Society of Devotees, it's not necessarily going to be like that. I mean, you may be expert in a certain field and you'll be helping a few devotees around you, but you know, my point is, the main thing is, what's your Krishna consciousness like? You know, how's your life? And that is something, I guess, because I've always felt, you know, you know, how important it is to take responsibility for your own life. And maybe because when I was young, you know, and I got married young, I really kind of focused on taking full financial responsibility for myself and my family. Like, I was not going to depend on anybody, not the temple, and you know, of course, depend on Krishna, but I was going to put, you know, all of my effort into responsibly building up a financial base for my family. I did not ask anyone for help. I didn't expect help from the temple. You just go ahead and you just do it. You put your head down and you do it.
That's Grihasta.
And so that's basically, though, the attitude that we have to take in our spiritual life as well. You know, that's my feeling, is that in the end, the buck stops with us.
Of course. Physician, heal thyself. It springs from one's own bhajan, one's own Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it's just some theoretical posturing.
Right.
You know, which is really distasteful. Anyone can throw on robes and pretend to be something, but, you know, it's actually got to come from your own heart and your own realizations. Absolutely.
Anyway, I apologize if I sounded, you know, harsh there, but I should learn from that Bhagavad Gita verse.
All of us.
No, that's good.
All of us.
Don't speak harshly.
Jivan Mukta Prabhu, I just want to say that I have my admiration for you, and I appreciate all the responsibility you've taken in your own life, and that for all your family members. I think I'm just not articulating myself to you properly because I don't really feel heard by you. At least that's the way I'm feeling. And that may be my issue. That may be my problem. The point I'm trying to make is that after hearing hundreds and hundreds of classes over the last 46 years, and, you know, I probably spent over 20 years living in the temples, you know, Shravanam Kirtanam, Kirtanam. Spiritual life begins with hearing. But yet, when I see devotees actually interacting with one another, do they actually hear one another? Are they actually hearing one another? And I'm just giving a case in point here. One God brother, he's been a big leader in, I won't say where, but he's been a big leader in our society. And I haven't seen him in some years. And I was in Vrindavan, and he's a sannyasi. And so my gut reaction was, Shastra says, you see a sannyasi, you should bow to the sannyas order. Otherwise, you're supposed to fast for the day. I don't know what scripture it says that in, but I remember hearing that even when I was Bhakta Glen. So here's a sannyasi, and I know that he drove a lot of God brothers away because of his harsh dealings with them, and many, you know, decided they wanted nothing to do with ISKCON or the Guru system, etc. And so when I saw him, I was going to bow to him, and I thought, no, for my own healing and to foster the spirit of forgiveness, I'm going to go up to him and I'm going to give him a big hug for the first time in my life. Because it was always very formal, you know, formalities. And so this was in Vrindavan. He's walking towards me. It's Prabhupada's appearance or disappearance time. And there's all these little kiosks set up and everyone's selling their books in different facilities. And as I'm walking towards him, he says, Guruji, where are you these days? And I walked up to him, and just as I was about to put my arms around him, and I was saying, I'm at your lotus, and he turns his head and he goes, oh, Kurma Rupa, Hare Krishna. And immediately he broke my attempt to hug him. He didn't even listen to my answer. I didn't even finish my sentence. And immediately he's going to talk. And I thought, wow, that's really rude. Now, Lord Chaitanya says, offer all respects to others and don't expect any in return. That was a wonderful opportunity for me to learn that lesson. And I don't think I took full advantage of it because in my mind, I offended him. I thought, wow, you jerk. Why do you even pretend that you care about me or that you're happy to see me when you can't even listen to my answer? And then he goes and talks to someone else. And I thought, and he's a big guru in our ISKCON. He's an initiating guru with hundreds, maybe thousands of disciples, and he can't even listen to his godbrothers say, I'm at your feet, Maharaj. I'm happy to see you. And I just thought, Gora, what's the point? Why are you trying to develop camaraderie and friendship with these people when they don't even know how to hear yet, but they can quote 1,000 shlokas. Do you kind of get me now?
Yeah. And as a friend, Prabhu, what I would say is give it up. Just get it. What's it going to take for you to get over that?
I'm over.
Okay, good. Finished.
I'm not looking forward to seeking him out and
don't bring it up again. Don't dwell on it. It's done. Finished. Move on. There's so many nice nectar things that we could be reading. We could be reading Sri Shapanishad right now.
It's an example, though. And I think what Gora is saying, that it's important to him that there's reciprocation, that he feels connected with other Vaishnavas. It's important. So I know that Vaishya Sheikha is very personal. He'll hug his godbrothers.
He's wonderful.
He's very exemplary in that way. I think Radhanath Swami too. He offers his obeisances to the lady god sisters. I love that. That to me is like, wow.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that has to be learned that we didn't necessarily embrace when we were younger. We were kind of in the Transcendental Army. It was an emergency. There was no time to lose. We were pretty impersonal with each other. But actually, it seems that in the readings in Prabhupada's works, that, this ability to reveal one's mind in confidence, to be a friend, these things, with Vaishnavas are very important. And I think it's a big area of learning. I do see quite a lot of it in my local Math, which is in the one of the Gaudiya Math lineages. And there's a lot of gentle-heartedness and, people are very personable. That's the first foot they seem to put forward. And it's very, it's delightful. It's very welcoming. It's very loving. You feel loved, even if they don't even speak to you. It's a very interesting flavor. And I think that devotees want that. They want to be able to share in that very personal, loving way, especially before they die. Why not? It's a beautiful thing. So I'm all for it, learning the skills. People learn it in family life, to love each other in reciprocity. And I think that it's something that, we have a long way to go. I've heard a lot of criticism of us as Vaishnavas saying, oh my God, you people, you don't have any social skills whatsoever. And you think, owie, okay, I'm not going to be arrogant about this. I'm going to listen to this as a criticism. Maybe there's some merit there. Maybe we really do have to buck up, So anyway, that's my transcendental 2 cents.
How about, we haven't heard from the couple of people that haven't spoken. Is it Mary?
Shuddha Sindhu has not spoken at all.
Would you like to share something?
No, I'm just listening, trying to understand.
Jalangi, anything else from you?
I do not remember exactly, but what I remember was it, or what, when was it that Prabhupada said that if you love someone, you will hear, you will like to listen. I know that was in Satsvarupa Maharaja's biography of Prabhupada. In this, yeah,
He said that that's a sign of friendship if you're willing to listen to someone.
if you love to listen. And also it was said about Prabhupada that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said he likes to hear. He said about Prabhupada. So that was such an important point you were stressing here about ability to hear with respect, with kind of humility.
I think what I got from Jivan Mukta Prabhu is it's great to be heard, but don't be overly dependent upon others if they don't have that skill. Am I understanding you correctly, Jivan Mukta?
You can't depend on anyone except Krishna and Prabhupada. That's it. That's it. That's how I live my life. And when I come across a nice devotee, it's wonderful, and you reciprocate, and it's wonderful. But what's that saying? If you don't have high expectations, then you don't get disappointed, or what's
right.
that?
But what's the teaching of Rupa Goswami where he talks about the importance of loving exchanges?
Oh, definitely.
Revealing your mind in confidence, confidentially inquiring.
Giving and receiving gifts.
Gifts.
That's another thing.
Offering prasadam and receiving prasadam. Revealing one's mind in confidence and confidentially inquiring.
Yes. I think that denotes a gentle-heartedness there.
No question about it.
Yeah.
No question about it. But, you can't, it's a trend. It's not a material thing, because it's a devotee's search and desire to have spiritual association. But, it is kind of, I'm just thinking that it is kind of on the lower stages of Krishna consciousness when we're so dependent upon, other devotees kind of validating us, and it's important. It's a very important human need to be validated. It's important. But the validation comes from our spiritual master. Right? The validation comes from, Srila Prabhupada, and then there's going to be a few devotees, Prabhu, that will validate you, but you can't expect that, generally speaking, across the board, with just because they're devotees. There's so many things that are going on in their minds and their hearts, like you can't expect it. And you could understand that maybe their behavior could be different, or, but you can't live your life expecting that type of interaction. That's just how I feel about it. I mean, you're going to have a few friends that your interactions with them is going to be very loving and open, and there's going to be, exchanges of our feelings and reciprocity like that.
Yeah.
But don't expect it to be like a general principle. It's not going to be like that. It's not going to be like that. It's not the real world. The real world is, you will have, if you are lucky, a handful of really close devotees that really care for you. And just maybe not even devotees, just some people, maybe they're not even devotees, but they care for you. And they really love you. But don't expect that from just everybody.
Mhm.
it's not going to be there. That's my experience. And it doesn't mean that I have to go around criticizing them. No, I mean, sometimes, you know how they say there's just like the vibes, the energy just doesn't connect.
Mhm.
There's wonderful devotees that I don't really feel very comfortable with. And then there's others that I just love being with them, and it's a great time. And they're just like, I wish they would just move in with me, like they're just wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful devotees. But, you can't, again, you can't just go around, feeling sorry for yourself because people aren't, being kind to you. And, it happens to everybody. It's going to continue to happen. It's the nature of this world. We're mostly neophytes. All of us are mostly neophytes. There might be a few madhyams out there, but and so we're just kind of trying to find our way and trying to, follow the process.
Srila Rupa Goswami explains in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, when seeking association, seek it with like-minded devotees that have affection for us and who are on the path of spiritual advancement. So as you say, we click with some and we don't with others. We can respect them and maybe respect them from a distance.
Yeah. And, you got to realize that works the other way around too. Like, as much as I want to try to be gentle and nice and respectful for devotees, I'm sure there's people that I repel. I'm sure that they're repelled by me, right? Well, what could
Hopefully not.
what could you do? It's like, you try to do your best.
But don't you think, Prabhu? I mean, my emphasis here is recently on, really leaning into these loving exchanges by giving gifts to Vaishnavas, or sitting down and taking prasadam with someone with no strings attached. It's just, it seems to be something that we have to learn more how to do. I don't know.
Well, I have to say though, I'm going to bring it, I don't want to bring it to a mundane point, but again, it's my own life experience. Like, I was raised in an Italian family, right? And so loving exchanges, I mean, that's like breathing. Like, that's what we do. You hug and you kiss, and it's like, you're happy when people drop in. In fact, unannounced guests made you the happiest.
Wow.
When we would be sitting on our veranda when I was a kid, and a relative would drive by and stop in and visit us without calling us, or that time there was no texting or anything.
Right.
It was just such a special occasion that someone stopped in and they surprised us by their visit.
Wow.
So this is something which is just like, it's not even a question of Vaishnava. It's just proper human culture.
That's totally Vedic. It's called Atiti Bhava. If some guest comes to your home, you see them as if they're Krishna.
Yeah,
Krishna.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But that has nothing to do actually with, that's culture. That's just like
Yes.
human civilized culture.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it says a lot about the state. Prabhupada on and on and on, this explains how he's been preaching to the Malechas. I was just reading yesterday that, Lord Chaitanya was saying that, anyone who could make a Malecha a devotee is empowered by Krishna, especially empowered. We're Malechas at best. We come from such degraded, cultural backgrounds, and where we can't even properly interact with each other. And that's the problem, right? And then we're trying to practice Krishna consciousness while we're trying to just be human beings. And Mataji, you exactly hit the nail on the head, because that's why what Prabhupada said Varnashram is so important. Because Varnashram teaches us this etiquette. This is just etiquette.
And it accepts people. The Varnashram is about letting people be true to their nature, not
Yes.
forcing them into a mold, but helping them to find out who they are and what they love to do for Krishna. You know what I mean? It's like a natural progression towards spirituality. But people are confused now. They don't know who they are. You know, on the battlefield, Krishna says to Arjuna, you don't know who you are, therefore you don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we need
But
to know
again, go ahead.
who we are,
No, go ahead.
so that we know how to act. And also Dharma, part of Dharma means getting to know our nature so that we can live from that place as an offering, as a gift to the planet and to Krishna. We fulfill that destiny by developing our talents and our gifts.
Mhm.
And thus we let everyone do that. What a peaceful society it could be. But people are so confused now. They're doing things they hate. They're doing jobs they hate. They despise. They aren't fulfilled in, and they're angry. They're not happy. When you love your work, you're actually a happy person. You know, when you're doing work according to your nature, it's natural and it feels good. I'm just saying that's why we need to accept people and meet them where they're at and then bring them along, you know.
Prabhupada, there's a point, I agree with you, but there's a point where meeting them where they're at is not where they should be aspiring to be. Prabhupada was very liberal in that he met people where they were at, but then he introduced the principles of Varnashram and Krishna. And Prabhupada said, eventually you introduce all the rules and regulations. So yeah, we meet them where they're at, but
very gradually though.
gradually.
Gurudas talks about how gradual. You know, they weren't even doing a Mangal Artik. They were getting there at 7 for years. Like these things came really slowly. I'm just saying, you know, the Shudras and the Kayastas, you know, they're different castes. Their temperaments are different, and we need to meet people where they're at. And there needs to be a place for everybody, you know, on the road towards Krishna consciousness. That's all. They can be engaged, right? They can be engaged.
Have to be engaged, and that's the expertise of a devotee, is that they know.
Good leader.
The leader is that they know how to engage people. And it's just like you're saying, Mataji, like some people are going to be they're going to need a lot of time to take those steps. Others, because of their karma as well, they're going to be able to like rapidly, make advancement and follow those rules and regulations.
But if people are engaged happily, like if they love farming and cow protection, they're gonna stick. It's a big part of it that we haven't really paid that much attention to. That, you know, as we raise our children and grandchildren, hopefully they'll get to do things that they love for Krishna, which will help them be happy on the path. Since not everybody's going to be a temple devotee.
I'll let all of you know once we start developing our 200 acres here. I just bought 200 acres with an, incredible, private lake and everything. And it's in an unorganized township, which means we can build basically whatever we want there.
And where is this? What state? What state?
No, it's just north of Toronto.
Oh.
So it's in Canada, so it's going to be a little colder than California, that's for sure.
That's exciting though. That's great news.
Yeah, so it's myself and my eldest daughter. She's very much into yoga. Her name's Nadia. So I'm bringing her into the project and getting her involved in the planning and figuring out the first structure we should build up, because we were thinking of the first thing that we should do is like a main temple, meeting room, yoga center, retreat center. And from that we can attract, and along with that, I'm looking at a 42-foot dome greenhouse.
Wow.
So once we have certain structures like that, then devotees will see that we're for real and that they may want to participate.
That's
Mhm.
so amazing.
So,
And I have a daughter named Nadia too.
oh, really?
She's
That's great.
36 years old. Yeah. My
Mine
Nadia.
is 30, mine is 35.
Like that. And Nanda Patni is a horticulturist.
Awesome.
Nanda Patni over there. She works in a nursery now.
Mhm.
Well,
I work in a greenhouse that's the size of a football field.
Wow.
And we've planted a tropical fruiting rainforest inside the greenhouse structure.
Wow.
Yeah,
In California.
yeah. I'm growing mangoes and papayas
Wow.
and cherimoyas and soursops and,
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. Well, Gora, that might be good for you up there. That big piece of property, huh? Gora's
Well-
always saying he wants more devotee association. All of us do, I think. I'd love to live in a community. I'd love there to be a Mangal Artik every morning to go to.
Yeah, for sure.
Many of
I
us.
live 30 miles from devotees, so I would appreciate that opportunity as well.
Mm.
We'll
Well,
see what happens. God, man proposes and God disposes. So I'm praying that Lord Krishna, help realize this dream where we can have something, where we really are more self-sufficient and we inspire each other in Krishna consciousness, especially, because even though there's many young devotees, they're going to grow old like us. and they're going to want, especially in old age like this, they're going to want that support and that support structure so that they could really, really focus, like laser focus on spiritual life and shedding all this material kind of attachments. And, I'm, again, at this stage in my life, I'm just hoping that, Lord Krishna kind of directs my energies in that way.
I love it. Well, sounds like it's happening. Keep us informed.
Yes,
It's
for
very
sure.
exciting.
By the way, I just want to mention that if there's any, I would be happy to contribute books to devotees that don't have any and would like some to distribute.
Wow.
So
That's a lovely offer.
yeah, if there's any of you that are in that position or know anyone, please contact Gore or myself or whatever, and we'll try to make some arrangement for that.
We should put your name in the chat box or something.
Sure.
If you want, and a number or email address or something.
Gore Prabhu, do you have all that, or should I put it in?
A lovely offer.
However way you want to do it.
Okay.
Hear that, everybody? He's offering to give you free books so you can distribute them. How
Sure.
lovely is that?
Mhm.
Then, I want to do that very soon, but I'll have to tell you, if I hit the road, I cannot guarantee that I will have a stable Wi-Fi connection. Because if I'm living in my van and I'm traveling all over the place, then this may be the end of these sessions. I don't know. I would try to find Tim Hortons coffee shops or McDonald's or, wherever I could get Wi-Fi, because I have very limited data on my phone. But I'm just
How
saying,
sad.
I would like to hit the road myself because there's a couple of months left before Christmas. But if I do that, then I can't guarantee these sessions will continue. Or I can make Jivan Mukta or any of you can take over. I can make anybody the host.
And you come on when you can.
Yeah,
But where would you be staying at nights?
in my van with about 10 blankets and a duvet.
Really?
As long as I can hack it out. I usually get cramps in my legs and it gets to be too much, but I'll try.
Why?
I've done it.
Can't you find a cheap motel somewhere to stay in?
You have to be making a certain amount of money every day to afford a motel. Yeah.
Well, we should talk about it.
Okay. All right, everyone.
Facilitating preaching.
Yeah.
Facilitating preaching is almost as good as preaching ourselves. If we can facilitate someone else's preaching, that's glorious too.
Well, it's wonderful that Gore Prabhu is really one of those devotees, he loves Harinam, he's just like at the drop of a hat, he'll go out and, and start chanting with cookies and books and anywhere, everywhere. And I know I always had a little more, I always had to kind of push myself to do that. Whereas Gore seems to it's like he's a fish out of water when it comes to that. He just loves that environment.
It's true. I miss it. I got to get out there. Otherwise, I realized today that I need to do book distribution for my own self, because being alone all the time, it really can get to you. Yes, I know I'm not alone. I'm surrounded by hundreds of books, but I'm still a conditioned soul, and I need at least one human being that I can talk to once in a while. I mean, I'm grateful I have all of you 3 nights a week through a screen, but it's not the same thing as sitting down and sharing a plate of prasadam together, or doing a little bhajan together, or even going on a japa walk together. So I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying I need to get out and do some book distribution, because at least I'll be with some other human beings. Otherwise, cabin fever being on
Well,
your
there
own.
you go. So give me a list. Let's figure out. I've got some Gitas here. I got a few boxes of Gitas for you.
Okay. I've got a few boxes here, 3 or 4 or whatever.
Do you? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I hope to see everybody Friday. I hope to have your association once again. Shikarani's come to see if everything's going smoothly, because is Jalangi still here? I can't remember.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Jalangi, you were mentioning last time that you tried to join and you ended up going someplace else. So I told Shikarani, she's our tech expert here, that you got lost somewhere in the shuffle, but you seem to be finding your way here without any problem, correct?
I'm not using the link you have given. Just the link is not functioning for me. Maybe it's something with my mobile. I'm just copying the ID number and then going directly to the Zoom app, and it's working.
Okay, good. Glad to hear that, because others have told me that they couldn't get in, and I don't know why.
The link is, the ID number is different than the ID in the link. When you click the link, it's not connecting to this ID number.
So are you on Facebook?
I'm also on Facebook, but
So
now
can you send the link to Gaura Prabhu or me, and I can check.
Okay, Jalangi?
it's okay. Everything is functioning for me.
Okay.
I was worrying for others, it's not functioning.
Oh, yes,
but
thank you for being concerned. All right, I'll ask others to do what Sikarani just said. If they have a problem getting in, I'll ask them to send me what it is that they're doing. And she can analyze with her analytical
I
mind.
think meeting ID always works, so that's more robust. Link, if you put some space or some dot, then it will stop working. Like
Right.
by mistake, people do that.
So
sometimes.
Shikarani, we started the Friday evening Bhagavad Gita class just for you. So we're hoping
I
that,
will surely join. So, like, are we doing it 7:30 to 9 these days?
yes, for months. Yeah. Never
No,
stop.
but so initially we were doing 8 to 10, then we made 7:30 to 9:30, and now we are doing 7:30.
No, not till 9:30. It's supposed to be till 9 o'clock, but I'm just letting it go over because there's
Oh,
more points to discuss.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. 7:30 to 9.
That is fine.
Yeah. So we can get to bed at a decent time.
Good.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I look forward to seeing you Friday, Krishna willing. Vanchikalpa, Trubhischa, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur